I'm Tabitha Rock.
And I'm Sam Davenport.
Born and bred in Melbourne, we live and breathe property, and we know the Melbourne market like the back of our hand. We've both been buying and selling real estate in Metro Melbourne for over 2 decades combined, and we've learned a few lessons along the way.
Welcome back.
We're back.
I always almost break into song with the welcome back, but
I know.
Maybe in
Mace.
season 3.
We just need it playing. Maybe post-production, put in Mace.
What's Mace?
Mace is Welcome Back. That's the song you want to keep singing.
That's the song I want to keep singing.
Gosh.
I didn't know that. I just
doesn't
think
know
of
any
Cheers.
rap references, but what?
No. What are you thinking? I'm thinking from Cheers, from the sitcom, American sitcom. From the 90s, 80s,
we'll
90s.
give you some sweet background music. But let's get into it. What are we chatting about today, Sam?
Final inspections.
So what does that even mean? Where does that come about? What part of the process? What are you talking about?
So you've bought your property, you've loved it, you've bought it, you've secured it.
Sold.
You've
Deposit's gone.
Deposit's gone. You've gone home. You've signed all your contracts. Everything's sort of been handled. And then a few weeks prior to settlement, the agent, if they're on top of their things, will call you and say, would you like to do a final inspection, or when are you available to do a final inspection? And we're going to run you through what it all means and exactly what you actually need to do. Because a lot of people will go there and basically just measure for their couch and check if their fridge fits.
Which that's wise.
It's also wise. Definitely need to arrange those two things. But basically there's a general condition in the contract, general condition number 22, which is a standard clause, and it gives buyers the right to a final inspection. And it states the purchaser and or another person authorised by the purchaser may inspect the property at any reasonable time during the 7 days preceding and including settlement day. Interestingly, including. And we'll touch on why that's interestingly. But this allows buyers to conduct the final property inspection, obviously, at any reasonable time during the week, leading up to and including settlement date. It's advisable to conduct the final property inspection as close as possible to the settlement day. And the reason why we advise that is because obviously if you do come up against or you see any issues that have arisen, it's still going to give you time, but certainly in the perspective where you've got an outgoing tenant or an outgoing occupier who's leaving the property, ideally you want to see the property once they've moved out. Ideally, it's often not the case.
I was just going to say a lot of our clients think that they're going to walk into a vacant property for the final inspection, but you know, like anything, you just think about it. The vendor's crazy. They're all over the place. They've got boxes here, there, and everywhere. They probably haven't booked the cleaner yet. Because it's stressful moving. And a lot of these people have probably lived in this house a long time, and it's just like they had more stuff than they thought they did. And so we're 2 days before settlement and they're still not out. And the house is still not clean. And so you're walking through this place, your dream place that you've just spent your life savings on, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
So it's very overwhelming.
And like technically the contract of sale requires the owner, the vendor, to hand over the property in the same condition as when it was purchased. But you've got to think about when it was purchased, oftentimes on auction day, unless you've purchased off market, the property was absolutely presented within an inch of its life for the sales campaign.
But then even the inside of the cupboards won't wipe down. So, you know, don't expect that to be done come settlement date.
Yeah. And that's on the cleanliness of it. But it's in terms of just the presentation, you know, when the property is expected to be handed over to you at settlement in the same condition, it's not talking about presentation. You know, it's talking about condition. You know, what you're really looking for is, are there any major differences between when you purchased it and now? Say, for example, holes in plasterwork, holes in the wall, you know, large holes in the wall.
Tell us your story, Sam.
I know. We did have one. And actually this is for when I bought for one of my sisters. So it was even like the effects of it was compounded, that's for sure.
Who was a paying client?
Who was?
Yeah.
Who was pay? Yeah, of course. Hello, we're not doing this for free.
There's no love jobs around here.
No, definitely not. Sorry, girls. No, but we knew, and this is the thing, is that Because we have been involved in so many transactions and we've done so many final inspections, we know what it's going to be like. We know what condition that property is going to be in when we go in there for the final. We know just based on if, say, for example, you get this is a classic scenario of a vendor who's going to hand over the property with a fruit basket, with a love note, with a fresh set of keys, with
the manuals from 1996 that they've carefully
kept in a Ziploc bag in the third drawer. All of that will be there ready perfectly, the most perfect handover, and that's the dream handover. And you definitely see those. But that comes from a specific type of person, and you'll see inclinations of that.
Oh my God, I've just had such a great idea.
What?
We should definitely, as part of our process, give our clients as a settlement gift, a Ziploc bag for all their manuals to pass on to be good owners for the next buyer. It's a shit gift, but it's a good idea.
I'm like, wait, what? At what point in the process we're giving plastic bags?
Cute ones with pop culture label. We're going to style it up, girl.
Okay. We could do that. And then you also know exactly when you're going to have the super disheveled handover where the property's got things left in the garden always left in the garage. Always there's a couple of cupboards that they've forgotten to clear out. The property was not cleaned at all, not even a surface clean. It's just handed over really poorly. You don't have a key to the back door. You've only got a key to the side door. The roller door no longer works. That type of a handover, when that's coming as well. And we always try to prep our clients in terms of what to expect during, before the final inspection. But, just call your agent and find out whether or not the person is still there. If they're not there, are they planning to book in a surface clean, a professional surface clean, or are they going to do it themselves? If so, when are they planning to do it? Try and do your final inspection after that date. It's often going to be a few days pre-settlement. So try and do it after that date. Ideally, in that scenario, you're going through and you're able to see the property exactly for what it is. And if there's any obvious issues, then you can sort of address them obviously through the conveyancer or direct through the agent if the vendor is really open to it. If you come up against any issues, you can go through the conveyancer. But we had that one for my sister in we knew that it wasn't going to be handed over well. We bought it off market and it was a bloody mess when we bought it.
As a lot of the off markets are.
Yeah.
People
don't live perfectly. We've got humans in these houses and they're living, you've got teenage boys in the back room and, there's a lot going on. There's separations and there's heartache and all these things happen in people's lives, and their homes often reflect where they're at in their life. Anyway, so the back room was housing her late teen son, who was a bit dramatic and had caused some damage to the property in his area.
A few drug issues, one might say.
Yeah, or just anger issues. I don't know what his problem was, but he had damaged his room. And so that we saw. We knew that was there. We knew what we could see. But what we couldn't see and what we don't know whether it occurred pre-purchase or was, in line with when the property was bought or not, or happened after, we don't know. Once we went in to do the final inspection, all of his stuff had been moved out. There had been a big hanging on the wall, and once that had been taken down, that wall just had a huge hole in it, from top to bottom. The entire plaster wall was just basically broken in. And so we were able to negotiate that to get fixed up direct with the vendor. So
I think most people, know that that's not an appropriate way to leave a house.
Yeah.
But it was funny because in that scenario, you couldn't actually hold up settlement, could you?
Yeah, you can't. And you can't legally in general, unless you can really prove that I think there's only really we've got that one recent example of the guy who bought the property in Portsea.
Oh, yeah.
$8 million property in Portsea, $800,000 down. Interestingly, he already was trying to cancel the contract.
This is not someone we know, by the way. This was a news article.
A news article in The Age. And he was trying to pull out of the contract, trying to get his deposit back. And they said no, because legally there was no
Hmm.
reason why. That would have just had to have been agreed to by both parties. And they said no. The vendor said no. Mysteriously, house burnt down a month later to the ground.
Wild.
And then obviously he was able to go to court and prove that, that what he had purchased was no longer in existence. Therefore, the contract is now, there's a word for it, where the contract is like muddied.
Void?
Yeah, not
Oh.
void. It's sort of, look, what was in existence in the contract is no longer there. So
right.
anyway, so he got his money back. And
Well, and this is a reminder, everyone, to make sure you take out building insurance as soon as you purchase a house, because it is pretty grey in terms of signing contracts and settlement as to whose responsibility
exactly.
it is. I mean, I think a lawyer could pretty confidently argue that it's the problem of the vendors.
Yeah, but then what about if, for example, the property that got burnt down, let's say, for example, that same scenario, you purchase it, the house that was on the land that you bought burnt to the ground, but you took it to court and the judge deemed that the value was in actually the land, not in the house that was on the property, and therefore you still have to settle. So yeah, we say to every purchaser, take out unless obviously it's part of a body corporate, because then you've got building insurance through, in those owners' corporation fees. But yeah, if it's a freestanding house, certainly take out your own building
that's actually
insurance.
a good point, because in apartments, a lot of people think that they need to take out some sort of insurance when they sign the contract, but actually they don't, because building insurance is covered in your owner's corporation fees. So as soon as you settle on the property, you're just taking out contents insurance.
Yeah.
But I mean, when I was a selling agent, I used to have questions about things, marks on the walls and, is that going to be fixed prior to settlement? And it's like, no, that was like that on auction day or when you purchase it. So that's staying out as is. And I think that is a bit of the problem, as you found with the painting on the wall, is that a lot of times these places are styled or has furniture in them. So you can't see the massive stain on the carpet. You can't see the massive paint difference on the wall because there's a painting. And so, you're buying the property as is. So just go into it knowing that everything won't be perfect, unfortunately. Funnily enough, I was just dealing with a client that I bought for an expat from the US, and he was one of the locks on the sliding doors didn't work. And I said, well, we'll just have to get that fixed post-settlement. We are aware, that's why we wear, and we're aware that doesn't work. And he's like, really? In the States, you have to literally get everything fixed prior to settlement. And so you're buying this like very perfect home. And I thought, gosh, I don't think anyone would sell in Australia if we had to do that here.
Yeah.
Because imagine every single...
Oh, the number of dilapidated properties that get sold.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
You just...
I mean, unless you're as a buyer, unless you're pre-purchase doing, obviously we do for our clients oftentimes a building and pest inspection report, which is going to outline basically a list of all the defects in the property. So, we often will walk through a final inspection with that report and just checking it against itself, just making sure there's nothing else that is there that wasn't listed in the report. But unless you are going through with some sort of checklist and you're checking everything. For example, on a final inspection, yes, of course, check all that the appliances work, go for it. But did you do that before you bought it? Can you confirm
that it actually
that
worked
it was work?
to purchase?
And that now it doesn't? It's, you need to be able to realistically prove, and that's why building inspection reports are great, because it's, it's a document that you can pass on.
Recently I bought a property for a client and the guttering had fallen down in between signing the contract and settlement. We had the building inspection to revert to, so we could prove that the guttering had actually fallen down, so they did rectify that prior. But a lot of things that you should be checking is that dishwashers are still in the property. That's a key one that sometimes with some tight-ass vendors, they get taken out during settlement, and they do need to stay with the property. They are a chattel. They're like the aircon. They're like the stove. They must stay.
It's a plumbed-in fixture.
Yeah, but funnily enough, obviously the washing machine and dryer, which might be, the dryers are often fixed to the wall, they go, as well as TVs go. But really, if you're selling a property, you do need to exclude them from the contract in your chattels. So it's really clear. You know, I've had back when I was a selling agent, I had this Carlton draft light fixture weird thing in a Richmond house that had to be taken out, and that was noted in the contract.
Yeah.
So the vendor just patched that, and that, you know, everyone was on the same page. But there are little things to make sure you're aware of what's staying with the property and going. Another one that I bought for a client in Ivanhoe, and it was a $3 million place, $4 million place. They took the vanity mirror. And they said it was like a painting. That was their.
Oh, it was hanging on the wall.
It was hanging on the wall.
Well, there you go.
But it's like that. I mean, you're a tight ass, or just replace it. Like if that's got sentimental value, that's fine.
Replace it.
You know, but get some sort of IKEA number that is like.
Yeah. I agree.
Like, just wild.
Yeah.
But this sort of stuff happens all the time, but it isn't stuff that can hold settlement up. But it's definitely something. Revert back to your conveyancer or solicitor. Sometimes if you're not getting anywhere with them because it can be a bit of a clunky process, lawyer to lawyer, go through the agent and just flag you're not happy with X, Y, and Z. Ultimately, the agent is going to try and build a relationship with you because you're now the next owner and they want you to sell that property with them when that time comes. So, you know, perhaps they will help you out a little bit more than going through the solicitors to rectify these issues. But it's interesting. Final inspections, they're controversial.
I know. It's so funny. So when you go through properties that are being perfectly handed over, you just literally like skip around the property. You're like, how lovely, everything's so great, we're so happy, everyone's so happy, you know, and then that's when you're really like measuring things and envisaging, you know, your future life there and talking about all the positive things. But when you go into one where they haven't done a clean, they've moved out, but they've left lots of sort of, you know, rubbish around outside in outdoor areas. The gardens haven't been done to the same level that they were done when you purchased. So that's one thing that you can definitely go back to them on, is that if you've got a garden that had been maintained or, you know, manicured or whatever pre-sale, and that's when you bought it, and then now maybe you've had a 4-month settlement, you've had lots of sun and rain, and now the garden's gone bananas and it hasn't been touched, really that does need to be done
100%.
pre-settlement. So that's something that you would get them to make sure that the garden and landscaping is all in order, and definitely getting them to remove any of that, anything that's left within the property. If oftentimes you'll see them in a big pile out the front because they've booked a hard rubbish collection, that's fine. There's no issues with that. Just double check maybe with the council. If, you know, a week goes by and it hasn't been collected, just check that it's been booked and ordered. We all get 2 free collections these days, so nice and easy to arrange it. But yeah, just ensuring that all the inclusions listed are there. As you said, I mean, yeah, with special exclusions being put in the contract, I remember we had one where obviously it was sentimental value. It always is. It's only ever – people only ever take these things when it's purely sentimental for them. But there was an olive tree in the backyard that that the vendor was going to take with them. But it was specified in the contract. You know, we'll be taking the olive tree, but we'll replace it with a new one.
Well, it's funny that this has just come to my mind. Again, I watch clearly too much social media. But recently there was someone stealing plants out of the front gardens of properties, like walking past and leaning over the fences. And that is something that sometimes I have seen people do, which is take a lot of the plants. I don't know who would have done that I know.
I did that.
Sold a property, and the little tight ass that I'm sitting across
sentimental value.
Oh, get out of town.
All of my fruit trees were given to me by my father. Sentimental value.
Oh, get out. Were they in the contract?
No. But I replaced them with like for like.
So don't buy a property off Sam Davenport.
Don't buy one off me. I was scrambling pre-settlement. You don't want to buy off me.
That garden was looking lush, and then come settlement date, looked very sparse.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't cute. But
just looked different.
Just look different.
Just look different.
Yes.
Hey, it just had a lot more camellias in there instead of fruit trees. It was fine.
Okay. Well,
And the agent didn't know what had happened. She was like, "Has something happened out here?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they didn't know. They didn't take photos. They didn't do their due diligence. If they had pulled me up on it specifically, I might have had a leg to stand on, but they didn't.
And to be honest, this was during COVID, and the Nufties, bought it sight unseen.
Sight unseen.
You know,
Too
shame
bad,
on you.
so sad.
Too bad, so sad. But we should actually note, I mean, a lot of our fans, obviously, are listening in Victoria. And this is not the same in every state. So obviously our contracts are very different. So that general condition that specifies that you are able to get your final inspection is not the same in every state. So you do need to, check that.
Yeah, exactly. So from Consumer Affairs Victoria, settling a contract of sale for a property that was damaged or destroyed, they state it will depend on the damage to the property. If the house has been destroyed or damage makes it unfit for human occupation, the buyer can end the contract before taking possession of the property. The buyer has 14 days from the date of becoming aware of the damage or destruction of the house to end the contract. If the buyer ends the contract, you must refund any money paid by the buyer. If the damaged property is still livable, you are responsible for organising and paying for any repairs, you being the vendor. Contact your insurer and consider seeking expert advice to assess the extent and cost of the repairs to the house. And as always, consult a legal practitioner or conveyancer about settlement and responsibilities for repair. Yeah. So it's exactly as we've covered.
Yeah, and a lot of grey area. And this is why good legal counsel when you are buying and selling real estate is so important. We recommend solicitors all the time, especially for curly ones where they're buying and selling and all that fun stuff. But, a good conveyancer is worth their weight in gold.
Gold.
Cheap is not necessarily best. And actually, you know what I was just thinking when you were saying that? We definitely need to talk about when someone dies in between selling a property and settling. But that has nothing to do with final inspections. But
so
I just thought
for another episode.
But you know what? Just thinking over here, girl.
Thinking out loud.
Got anything more to say on that one?
Nope.
Should we?
Nope.
Fuck, marry, kill?
Yeah. F, marry, kill.
Or
marry, kill.
No.
I was going to say just take your tape measure.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
But if you don't have one, you're always looking at the space going, I should have brought my tape measure.
Okay.
We obviously carry one in our cars.
I'm going to give the people a little hot tip.
Go on then.
Change the locks.
Oh, my God, change the locks.
They never do. Never do. Oh, my God, I've got another hot tip for the next step.
What?
Woohoo! I'm going to say.
Tell me later.
No, I'm going to say on the next step.
All right. F, marry, kill. The dishwasher's been removed. So you're going into your final inspection and you see the dishwasher's been removed. $1,000 dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's holes in the walls,
mm-hmm.
multi-plaster holes in the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Or the house is burnt down, but you get your deposit back.
I haven't really thought about these ones, so I'm really off guard here. I think I'm like marrying the dishwasher removed because oftentimes there's stinky dishwashers. I probably want a new one that's like I know is cleaned well right from the start. My dishes will be looking beautiful. Oh, look, I'll probably fuck holes in the wall. I don't know. And then I'm totally killing house burnt down and getting my deposit back. Like I bought my house and I want my house. Like I want it. I didn't want it to burn down.
100%.
Yeah.
I bought the house for a freaking reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back into the market.
No.
So I'm also killing house burnt down, but you get your deposit back. Like cool, I get my deposit back. The deposit I just had.
Yeah.
And I spent on the house. I don't want it back. I want the house. Also married, dishwasher removed for exactly the same reason. I just want to get superior dishwasher, superior clean, get it perfect. And holes in the wall, I'll F you because $1,000 to a plasterer, they can make magic happen.
Yeah.
It's no issue. That hole in the wall that we dealt with was fixed, patched, painted for like
One day.
$600 or
And one
something.
day.
Yeah. Oh,
No.
half a day. Half a day.
2 hours, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Which painter are we calling?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we hope that one was helpful. It is an important step in the process when you are buying real estate. Final inspections, don't skim them. As Sam said, take your tape measure, know what you bought on the day of signing.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean everything's in working order. If you didn't specify that in the contract, that just means it has to be as it was when you purchased. Until next time.